On the 10th of July 1992, we were treated to a sequel to the 1989 Tim Burton movie Batman. This time around entitled Batman Returns. An apt title, if ever there was one. Now, this film saw Michael Keaton reprise the role of Batman himself. Michael Gough returned as Alfred. We had the inclusion of Michelle Pfeiffer as Selina Kyle, aka the Catwoman, Danny DeVito as the Penguin, Christopher Walken as Maxwell Schreck. Yeah, so this film saw the story of the Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot, coming out of the sewers. He'd been dumped as a child and raised for all these years in the sewers by penguins. Nothing else. Yes, he was raised by these penguins. He's come out of the sewers and he's met up with the industrialist Maxwell Schreck, who wants to turn him into the mayor of the city. All the while this is going on, Maxwell Schreck has got his hands into some scheming, dirty stuff. And so, thusly, you have this story where Oswald Cobblepot wants to take over as the leader of the city. But in his doing so, he gets rejected by the city and then decides to turn on the firstborns of the firstborn children of every person in the city, and goes on this rampage to kidnap all the firstborns and kill them. Yeah, the firstborn children, and murder them. The story also saw Maxwell Schreck kill Selina Kyle, who sort of returned as a zombie version of Catwoman, for want of a better term. Yeah, she was sort of resurrected by cats and became the Catwoman under those sort of circumstances. So, yeah, and all this while Batman's about, obviously. Now, this film, I did see this at the cinema. I remember seeing it very vividly. I was in the Isle of Wight at the time with a girlfriend, and we went to see it over there. Yeah, good memories of the film, if nothing else. Anyway, the film itself, this film cost $80 million to make, and it went on to gross about $267 million, thereabouts, give or take, at the worldwide box office. So it was a financial hit for Warner Brothers. Obviously, director Tim Burton returned to the film, and we had that Tim Burton-esque feel again. The story was pretty light on plot, on narrative, like it was in the first one. It played very much in the world of the villains, more so than Batman himself, who felt more like he was a guest appearance in his own film, shall we say. He's just there. Nothing of the plot actually revolves around him too much. It's all around the villains and what they are doing. We are introduced to a fantastic cast. Michael Keaton returns, like I said, as Batman, and he gives again this nuanced performance, a fantastic performance of the split dual personality between him and the Batman itself. Michelle Pfeiffer knocks Catwoman out of the park. She's fantastic, and her and Michael Keaton have such a strong chemistry on the screen. It just oozes this sex appeal between the two characters, and you get this sense of this sort of love-hate relationship, this sort of frenemies relationship that they build as the film goes on. You know, that's fantastic. Danny DeVito was fantastic as Oswald Cobblepot, and this was all quite amazing, really, that this was accepted, because in the comics, Oswald Cobblepot isn't this freak of nature with penguin flipper hands. Catwoman isn't a zombie version of Catwoman, she's just a cat burglar. But we had this sort of eccentric idea of making these characters somewhat different, and they were accepted by the cinema-going public and Batman fans the world over. The film fell into a lot of flack for its use of violence and what it was doing with the murder and the story narrative of wanting to murder children and this sort of thing, all the firstborn. You know, there were reports that children were in tears in the cinema, that parents were dragging their children out of the cinema. McDonald's had to scrap their toy making for the film. Publicly advertising the movie and this sort of thing. All this sort of stuff went on. But regardless of that, we were given a new Batman film. That was fantastic. Now, for me, I always loved this Batman film. And for a long time, I said this was my favourite Batman film ever. It really was. And like I said in my first film, I had issues with the first Batman film, but when I grew to love it, it could change day by day which one of these two I preferred the most. Now, this Batman film feels very much like a brand new movie or a brand new start to the character. You know, the whole look and feel of the film has changed. Gotham City is designed completely differently. It's all designed on sets, and the sets look fantastic. The Batmobile is the same. Michael Keaton is the same. Alfred Go's the same. Police Chief's the same. Gordon. But pretty much everything else in the film is different. The whole look of the film and the tone of the film, even though it's still dark, there's a difference to it. Each Batman film of these first 4 Batman films feel different in their own way, almost like they could be set in their own little pocket universe from one another. Obviously, we'll get into the later ones as we go down the line. So, the set design for the film was top notch. It was fantastic. It's again a gothic display of architecture and this lived in world that feels not as dirty and grungy as the first Batman film, but still feels wonderful kind of a place. The makeup on Catwoman, the makeup on the Penguin, again fantastic. You're looking at these two characters, and they just the actors just bring these to life, and you forget that it's makeup. You forget that involved in the film. This time around, Batman's costume is somewhat more armoured looking. It's not so sort of pectoral and ribs like a human body shape, like perfect human body shape, shall we say. It's more of an armoured feel to it, more sort of square bound with, the Batmobile has got some upgrades and designs to it where it loses its outer shell and becomes this sort of skinny bike to get through, get away from police. It looks fantastic, and it's able to spin around with this thing comes out the underneath and raises it up. All these fantastic additions to the design of the vehicle. Now, like I said, the film does lack in its narrative, and this is true with most of Tim Burton's films, that he's more style over substance, and the style in this film is in spades. It is there on the screen, just style. The characters all play off of each other very, very well. There's no bad performance within this film. They're all fantastic in what they do. The model making in the film is fantastic. I love model making in movies. I love that old school kind of effect. And when you've got the model of the zoo and all this sort of stuff, and the camera going down through it and around it, it all looks very, very good. And when you have the penguins, even the designs of the King Emperor penguins, where they're little people in suits, they look fantastic. The real life penguins that are in it, fantastic. The animatronic penguins all looked very good. We're introduced to Batman's sort of bat boat. He goes around in the sewer which is again designed perfectly and looks superb. Obviously we don't see the Batwing within this film because of that reason that we've got that. It's more of a ground approach to Batman, shall we say. So all in all, this film looked fantastic. The wardrobe department, Catwoman's outfit, the black sort of leather, the black latex material that she had to be sewn into the suit, fabulous. Penguin just looked top notch. Design was fantastic for all of it. The film itself, again, is scored by Danny Elfman to fantastic effect. He's got a fantastic tone with his, with what he produced for this film. It works for the film, it carries the film, it makes the scene stronger and draws you in and draws out the emotion where emotion needs to be drawn out. The film is just a brilliant masterpiece. A very, very dark film, a lot darker than the first film, tonally speaking and narratively speaking, but that's what you got to love about it. Now, interestingly enough, this Batman film is the only of the 4 Batman films that doesn't use the Bat logo in its opening sequence. The opening sequence in this one, if you remember, is taken all through the sewers with the Penguin's little baby crib floating along the water. Yes, so we don't see the Bat logo at the start, although it was utilised on the posters again with the snow sort of catching and drifting over it. That looked fantastic. So yeah, for me, this film was a very enjoyable experience. A revisit on 4K that I've just done. The film looks better than ever. It sounds better than ever. And it just brings new life and new freshness and crispness to what you're watching. This was a very slick movie as it is. A lot slicker in its production than what the first one was. It feels a lot rougher and grainier and this sort of thing. But this film is perfectly slick in comparison to that one. So an enjoyable film, top-notch film, and I totally love it. Now tomorrow I'm going to be back with Batman Forever. This is an interesting one for me. I might split opinion on this film, but there you go. This is AJ. Thank you for watching. Please consider hitting the subscribe button and joining me on this ride, looking at Batman stuff that comes before the new Batman film. Leave me a comment down below if you wish, and also hit the notification bell so you can keep apprised of all of my upcoming content. And there will be quite a bit of Batman stuff coming. It's not just film related. I'm going to delve into other areas of the Bat. We shall take a look. Take care all, and goodbye.